Thank you, Paula, for the intros. Can Larry hear us? Larry?
I sure can.
Okay, good. Wow, what a background.
Larry, are you at the stadium right now? Don't lie to me.
No, I'm actually in the garage at my house, and it's just a good background.
Good trick, Larry. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today. Let's try to structure the conversation around the areas of growth, fan culture, and experience. Beginning with growth, I'll start with you, Corey, because we understand that the Major League Soccer has grown a lot lately, but you specifically pointed to 2023 as the transformational year. So why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and chatting with you all about Major League Soccer on a global platform. As you mentioned, 2023 has really been a transformational year for us. It's not over yet. If I had to sum it up in one word, it would be growth. There's just been an explosion of growth across the board in terms of more fans coming to matches. This year we saw almost 11 million fans come through our gates. Growth of our playoff format. We've expanded our playoff format as well, about 30 matches as opposed to 12. We've seen a tremendous amount of growth from new partners coming on board. We've welcomed the likes of Campbell's Snacks, TikTok, Ticketmaster, Celsius, just to name a few. We've also been prioritizing the growth of youth soccer. This year we announced MLS Go, which is our recreational platform, really prioritizing increasing participation and access for young boys and girls ages 4 to 14. Of course, I'd be remiss not to mention Apple. I think you may be aware this is the first year of a 10-year, really historic media rights partnership with Apple, one that's really transformed not only the sport of soccer, but the entire sports landscape. We launched MLS Season Pass, which is our direct-to-consumer product, which has been really exciting for us, and it's the first time ever that we're able to deliver all MLS matches, all Leagues Cup matches, and select MLS Next Pro and Next matches, all in one place, no blackouts, no need for an additional commercial bundle from another broadcast partner. It's been really a monumental partnership, and we're so excited because there's so much more time left on that relationship. And then I mentioned Leagues Cup. This was the first year that we launched Leagues Cup, which has just been such a monumental moment for North American soccer. If you're not familiar, MLS and Liga MX both paused their seasons in the middle of this summer for 4 weeks. All 47 teams participated, 77 matches, a ton of soccer, nonstop action. We actually innovated on the format. We went direct from end of regular time to penalty kicks. We saw 40% of the matches go to penalty kicks, and speaking with the fans, they really enjoyed that. But this is the first time that a confederation has sanctioned an event such as this. The top 3 teams who finished actually qualify for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And of course, it coincided with Lionel Messi's first match with Inter Miami. But I don't want to steal the Messi thunder, so I can kick that over to Nico to talk about.
Yeah, it is a nice setup for Nico, because Nico, you've been at Inter Miami for 3 years now, so you've seen the club before Lionel Messi and now during Lionel Messi. So can you speak about the impact he's had on the club, the community, the city, and the areas that have grown since his arrival?
Absolutely. And I always like to say that probably Leo brought something that was meant to happen. It's just accelerated the entire process, right? And kudos also to Larry LAFC that they've done a tremendous job before Leo came, really being the North Star in our league. When Leo arrived, I didn't think he was going to have the impact that he had. And probably because I worked at FC Barcelona, European football, we knew the global star that he is. But it's tough to quantify the impact he had on the sports society in North America in such a short period of time. So if you have lived in the United States, if you know about the United States, all you see is the NFL, all you see is the NBA. When Leo arrived, that switched in a moment, and then everybody was talking about soccer. everybody was talking about the MLS. Everybody was talking about Lionel Messi. So that changed. How did it change? We can talk about what you can quantify and what you cannot quantify, right? We talk about tangibles and intangible. When you talk about tangible, it's tough to quantify in 2023 because you will really see in 2024 as a full calendar, both from an economic standpoint, P&L standpoint, revenue standpoint. But in 2023, from a tangible standpoint, you really saw it on two main things. One was the ticketing, right? Inter Miami, I've been there for 3 years. We were struggling under certain aspects. One was the attendance. Miami is a very, competitive market where you're not only competing against the other franchises, but also with the sun and the beach and the restaurants and all the attraction. So that skyrocketed right away. So all of a sudden you have a sold-out stadium, 20,000, 21,000 in the building every single night. Skyrocketed also in terms of ticket pricings. We've seen an average ticket price going up and up. And then in sponsorship, it's a little tougher. Of course, that's my area of expertise. But when you are in the middle of the season, you don't have that many assets that are available. So you're we were blessed because we had the sleeve available, and that's good quantifier or a good indicator, and that was a 3x. Across the board, we've seen 3x on the verticals of ticketing, hospitality, and sponsorship. I think that then, like I said, we're prepping for 2024, where you really will be able to quantify that growth.
Yeah, and Larry, speaking of growth, perhaps no team in the MLS has enjoyed more remarkable growth than Los Angeles FC, because you guys began playing in 2018, and now 5 years later, you guys are the most valuable franchise in the MLS with a valuation that exceeds $1 billion, according to Forbes' most recent estimates. So how did you guys manage to grow so fast, considering how competitive the LA market is and the presence of the Los Angeles Galaxy?
Sure. And Nico mentioned it. In a market like Miami, in a market like Los Angeles, it's not just other sports properties that you're competing with. You compete with the weather, the beach. Here we compete with hiking in the mountains. You can get in your car. It's an hour to Big Bear. You go skiing. So it's hyper competitive. But for us, the reality is we're in the second largest market in the United States, call it 19 million people. And that gigantic market is also exceptionally diverse. It's greater than 50% Hispanic, 15% Asian. We also have embassies or embassy-like presences for 50 nations from around the globe. Why? Because their people are here. And when we talk about those people, those are football fans. Football fans were in the LA market long before LAFC was even a dream or a reality. And we just needed to find an approach that resonated with the folks in the market who already loved the game. And for us, we felt that approach was not to build a franchise, not to build a team, but to build a club and a community. And we also had the benefit of going 23rd in Major League Soccer. And we have an environment in our league where off the field, people are very, very cooperative and supportive of each other. And, we have tried to pay that kindness forward to folks that have come after us, like Nico and some of the other clubs in the league. And we're actually encouraged by the failure of the first attempt at a second club in the LA market, which was Chivas USA, because for us, the mistakes made in that attempt were fairly obvious. They marketed to a potential audience that was too narrow and purposefully exclusive. They were targeting 35% of the LA market, which was of Mexican descent, which narrowed that 19 million people down to about 6.5 million people. And they further narrowed their opportunity by taking the name, crest, and colors of Chivas Guadalajara from Liga MX. And even at its height, Chivas Guadalajara's fan base in the U.S. was estimated at 40%. So you further take that gigantic market, narrow it even more, and now you're down to under 3 million people. And so we went out with a plan and a strategy to be over-inclusive. The tagline for us is to unite the world city through the world's game. Here in LA Tourism talks about everyone being welcome here. And we wanted our fan base to be reflective of the broader community. And we adopted a name, colors, and a crest that were representative of our city and an ethos that was reflective of Angelenos as a whole.
Yeah, and Larry, because you stressed on the people, on the fan base, let's dig deep into the topic of fan culture. And Corey, why don't you open us this topic for us by telling us who watches the MLS? What is the typical MLS fan like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the MLS fan is younger and more diverse. Larry touched on diversity there. Average age of an MLS fan is 37 years old, and this is much younger than the other North American leagues. NFL is around 47, NBA around 41. The composition of our fan base is 31% Hispanic, which we believe is really helping to future-proof the league as we see this evolving, shifting North American population. Our fans are digitally native, they're tech-savvy, early adopters, as evidenced by our streaming partnership with Apple. They are unduplicated. These are fans that you're not going to find elsewhere across other North American properties, and they're brand loyalists. We've done a lot of research in this area, and I think, within soccer in general, soccer fans are usually more receptive to sponsors. You see the numbers over-index as compared to other sports properties, but when we double-click into MLS, we see those numbers rise. They are 67% more likely to recommend a sponsor of the league. They are 70% more likely to purchase from that sponsor products or services. I think, the reason being, probably just a personal hypothesis here, is they see the sponsors of our league, as we're a challenger league still, as really being building blocks to helping us to get to where we are today, really ingrained in the fabric of who we are. We have some partners who have been with us since the beginning or for a decade, which really help, elevate that narrative. And last but not least, they're tribal. They feel that their relationship and connection to their club is like part of being a tight-knit family or with close friends, and they are advocates for our league. 44% of them in a recent survey told us that they are constantly inviting their friends, family to help support, participate, and actively go to or watch MLS matches.
Larry, you guys did something very interesting at LAFC. You sent a group of your supporters to northern Germany, to Dortmund, to analyze the culture and the behavior of the Borussia Dortmund soccer fans. So can you talk about what that strategy tried to accomplish at your club?
Sure. We toured the globe and, made relationships with clubs all over the world, including Nico back in his days when he was at Barcelona. But in particular, the front office at Borussia Dortmund was exceptionally generous and welcoming to us in the early days of our club. I think they were a little bit fascinated as a club that started in 1909. They were trying to get their heads around how something starts from nothing in 2014. And folks like Karsten Kramer and Benedikt Schultz, Olaf Saplicki, Daniel Lorcher, who was their primary liaison with their ultras, and others were great to us. They opened their doors to us so that we could learn from their founding, their history, understand how they work with their ultras. And in fact, they shared with us that they had hired Daniel from the ultras, who was a former leader, so that he could be in the front office and speak the same language and understand the perspectives of the supporters and the ultras. And we, of course, were welcomed in Dortmund as executives from LAFC to experience the Yellow Wall, which, if you haven't seen it in person, it is truly an incredible sight to see. And we always told our supporters and our entire community that we were going to co-create our club, and that manifests itself in many ways. That manifests itself through the design elements in our stadium, like safe standing, also with a supporters bar. That was something that our supporters were very keen to have. So organizing a trip back to Dortmund with our supporters was a way to build those relationships, as well as demonstrate our confidence in our supporters and our belief in them that they could rival the best supporter sections in global football, and to give them a chance to basically kind of go to school by observing the yellow wall live and in person. And it was very interesting when they did that. They really didn't pay attention to the game, because after the game, we were asking them questions about, did you see that goal? Did you see this save? And they would routinely say, no, we were watching the supporters. And we were trying to figure out how they were doing this or how they were doing that. And this forever changed the relationship between our front office and our supporters, all for the good.
Yeah, so Nico, having heard this and having observed the different fan bases across the MLS, can you talk about the Inter Miami fan base at the local level, and what is the club's strategy to develop a global fan base in the future?
Well, I think the beauty of the MLS is that each market is kind of unique, and that translates a lot into the way people behave at the stadium, the way they organize the tifo, the way they come together. Miami is, we call it the capital of Latin America, and it's very different from Los Angeles, where it's heavy Mexican heritage population. Miami is predominantly Latin America, so you have Argentinian, Colombian, Brazilian, Peruvian, Ecuadorian, you name it. People play football, soccer 24/7. No matter what level you want to play, you play soccer. There are fields, there are parks. But Miami never had a team, right? Back in the days, NASL, if you guys remember, North American Soccer League, Ray Yatson, Thomas Rongen, the old school, the old guard, back when Johan Cruyff was playing. But that was Broward County, Fort Lauderdale. Nobody really had a team that they could identify with. So when Inter Miami came into the picture, they really gave an outlet. They really gave a badge to support. Of course, these people are used to good football. So they came together, they really took mostly Argentinian ideas, Argentinians' way to support. When you come to Drive Pink Stadium, which is our home stadium, it really is a Latin American football experience. It really is an Argentinian experience, a Colombian experience. So they act like them. They prepare the game like them. They sing like them. It's the closest thing you can get probably outside of Argentina. And it's very unique. So when we launched, they came together, they founded 3 supporters groups that were unique. We call it La Familia, the family, very simply. And then 2 added on. Nowadays, we have 3,000 people in the North Stand, which is, let's say, our curva, where they sing, they prepare the tifo, and they come together before the match. They drink Fernet and Coca, which if you guys don't know, but in Argentina, people mix Fernet with Coke. I'm from Milan. Fernet is from Milan. I find it interesting. I wouldn't use another word. But they drink it. They love it. Fernet is actually a sponsor. So that ties really, really well. Now, what's the other side of the coin? They're very knowledgeable about football. They grew up watching River Plate, Millonarios, Brazilian football. So they're very passionate, but they're also very demanding. And that's why they want to see a product that shows their passions, but at the same time performs and plays good football. It's a unique environment as much as LAFC is a unique environment in terms of tifo, but it's also one of the biggest strengths, because what Corey was saying, they tend to be very passionate about the club, which for us is a way then to be able to monetize as much as possible through merch, through sponsorship, through digital, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because you mentioned environment, let's move on to talking about experience, right? Italian soccer teams have a big issues with building new stadiums or renovating their existing ones. We all know about those issues. And by contrast, the MLS has 26 purpose-built stadiums or stadiums that have been redesigned specifically for soccer. So Corey, what role does it play to have, state-of-the-art stadiums and soccer-specific stadiums in improving the fan game day experience, and how do you leverage that in your job when you go talk to new business prospects in trying to sell the MLS product?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's a huge competitive advantage that we have in terms of our value proposition. You heard from both gentlemen up here. It's obviously very unique at each club, but we very intentionally have built soccer-specific stadiums because we know that MLS fans are unique, and when they are going to a match, their expectations are different than other sports fans. So we've actually done some custom research where we've had one-to-one conversations with our fans to really understand, okay, what are those jobs to be done? What are you looking for when you go to an MLS match? Connection, community. They're definitely looking for entertainment, of course, and beautiful soccer on the pitch, but hometown pride, so these are some of the things that really resonated through. So, what I can tell you is that from those fans, 81% of them said the MLS matchday experience is electric, it's energizing, it's more exciting than their other local market North American clubs, which is really, we're energized by that ourselves. They also see match day as a social event. 9 out of 10 fans are going to matches with family, with friends, to fulfill that need of socialization. We also heard a lot about the value of a match day experience, knowing that these stadiums are intentionally built. There is no bad seat in the house, which is very important to our fan base. And I think lastly, in terms of what's important to them, I'm bringing it back full circle here. This rationalizes our investment in infrastructure and really our commitment to our fans to make sure that we can continue to deliver those really unique matchday experiences, really built on the fan culture that is so authentic to each of the local markets.
So Larry, it will sound like I'm trying to elevate all the things you've done at LAFC, but I'm just reporting numbers here.
Keep doing it. Just keep doing it.
No, because you guys recently grabbed the headlines for striking a very lucrative deal for your home stadium, which is the highest across the league by average annual value, $100 million across 10 years. So can you speak about what it means for a club to have, a modern stadium and what kind of impact it has on the club's finances?
Yeah. Corey gave a good lead up. And look, we have always felt that our stadium, BMO Stadium, is pound for pound among, if not the best of its size in the global game of football. I've often likened it to Manny Pacquiao, the prize fighter. And it's a game changer from a financial perspective because we're able to host, especially with the weather in Los Angeles, right? We're basically a year-round outdoor venue. We host roughly 250 events a year, from MLS regular season to CONCACAF Champions League, now Champions Cup, US Open Cup, Leagues Cup. We have women's football with Angel City Football Club. We'll do 25 nights of live music, from Rufus Du Sol to Guns N' Roses to Blackpink to Marc Antonio Solis, as well as conferences, parties, meetings, film, television, and commercial shoots. Next week, we're going to have Chef Gordon Ramsay filming one of his TV shows. So for the brand, for BMO, a financial institution that happened to be, at the same time we were looking for a new naming rights partner, they were about to close on a $16 billion acquisition of Bank of the West that was predominantly located in California and the southwestern states. And they were planning to rebrand every branch, every office, every element of Bank of the West as BMO. And BMO was a brand that was mostly unknown in LA, unknown in Southern California, unknown in California, and unknown in the Southwest, where the Bank of the West operated. So we provided a unique opportunity for BMO to say hello to the market in a big way, a dynamic way, and reach not just fans of MLS football, but international football and women's football, as well as concert goers from every genre of music and attendees of all of these other events at our stadium, which is operating almost every day of the year. And all of those individuals are potential customers, whether from a personal banking, a loan perspective, a commercial banking perspective of BMO. So it was a really unique opportunity for them. They saw the value proposition, and fortunately for us, they're paying for it.
Yeah, Nico, you are originally from Milan. You are an Inter Milan fan, and you work for Inter Miami. So can you...
Gets confusing.
Inter is in your fate. Can you speak about the two different game day experiences? So on one hand, the Inter Miami fan that walks into Drive Pink Stadium on match day. On the other hand, the Inter Milan fan that walks into San Siro on match day. It is confusing.
Well, it's very different because even though, like I said, we're very Latin American driven, the experience at the stadium is very much American. So what Corey was talking about. When I go to San Siro, which unfortunately doesn't happen very often nowadays, but maybe once or twice a year, if the game is at 8:45 at night, I get there at 8:30 with my scooter. I put my helmet back. I get in, I sit on my seat, get up, went to the restroom, go home. That's it. Now, the experience, the history, San Siro, we all know. I don't have to get into it because you guys know what it is. If we go to a stadium in the United States of America, I'm there probably an hour before gates open, family of 4. I have a full fan zone that is activated by Inter Miami with concerts, music, personalities, TVs. I have fans, giveaways. I have Heineken doing a little game for the kids. I have so many activities, and people tend to enjoy it. And the reason why they go to the stadium is also to maximize the type of experiences that the club are putting up for them. So it becomes a full day experience that here in Italy, in Spain, in England, we're so used to going to the stadium, getting in and out, right? Majority of us. Then, of course, there are groups and people that get there a little earlier. In the United States, not only MLS soccer, but all the other franchises, all the other leagues, the experience starts 2 hours before the game. And it continues throughout the games. At Inter Miami, which I always find very interesting because I'm a little more traditional in the way I approach soccer, but we do fireworks when everybody scores. And then we do a national anthem. And then we do maybe a singer in halftime. And then we have games in the concourse. So there is so much going on. And I understand that it's a different culture, but it's also part of the experience of sports. And the same reason is why we thrive with soccer-specific stadium, why we thrive with own stadium. What Larry was talking about naming rights, how many naming rights we have in Italy? I think we have Allianz Stadium, if it's still called Allianz Stadium, and then we have Mapei owns Sassuolo, so it's not really a naming right. But the ability to own the infrastructure unlocks unique opportunities. It's not a secret that now AC wants to do the stadium, Inter Milan wants to do the stadium, Roma, Lazio here in the Stadium of Roma. It's obvious, it's necessary. Americans, we do it very well. It's also true that each city is a macro economy, which is different than here. But we need to be able to continue to build infrastructure. The MLS nailed it since day one. We still have few stadiums that are shared with the NFL. There are 80,000 people stadium. Atlanta's doing well as well in that stadium. But I think moving forward, the model is working and will continue to grow.
Yeah, and so Paula hasn't given us the 5-minute warning, so we're good, I think, to go with another round of questions. Because we cannot ignore the elephant in the room here, which is the 2026 FIFA World Cup happening in North America across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And maybe we'll go around, each of you provides an answer. So the MLS first season kicked off in 1996. Okay, so 2 years after the World Cup was held in North America. So exactly 30 years after the league's birth, what are the effects that this World Cup is expected to produce on soccer in North America? Maybe we'll start with you, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. Research shows that when a country hosts a World Cup, there is a tremendous impact locally on the domestic league. For us, it's more than just the World Cup. We've got this runway to 2026, right? And there are a lot of great things happening from now till then. We've got Copa America in 2024. We've got the launch of our 30th franchise in San Diego, as well as the FIFA Club World Cup in 2025. And then we've got the 30th anniversary and the World Cup in 2026. We're excited because we believe we'll have more players in this World Cup. In 2022, we had 37 players. Also 13 of the 16 markets are MLS markets for this World Cup. And we have a multifaceted plan to really make sure MLS is at the center of all things World Cup come 2026. As a league, we are prioritizing fan growth. So our North Star is doubling our core fan base come 2027. So we're coming right out of that World Cup. Everyone at the league, all of the clubs, we're all focused on this. And if we look at 1994 as an indicator, coming off of that World Cup, there was a 30% growth of fans in the United States. If we conservatively keep that 30% growth rate and extrapolate the projection for 26, that's an expected potential 34 million fans.
Yeah, Larry?
Yeah, just to build a little bit on what Corey was saying, I think that we know that our league suffers a little bit from misconception that, believe it or not, we're still thought of as a retirement league by some. We are still thought of a league that doesn't play a visually appealing version of football, that it's a bit of a bastardized, overly physical, Americanized version of the beautiful game. And I think that this World Cup provides an incredible opportunity to resolve those misconceptions, misperceptions once and for all. Because as Corey said, so many of our players play on national teams. And I think that for the casual fan or even the football snob who won't give MLS the time of day, when they tune in or show up for this tournament in 2026, they are going to see great players making a difference, having great moments, creating highlights in the World Cup, the biggest stage for this sport. And they're going to realize that many of those players play in Major League Soccer. In the last World Cup, we had 3 players on Ecuador. We had Gareth Bale captaining Wales. We had Kellen Acosta on the United States men's national team. And we are not unique in MLS. And I think this is an incredible chance to showcase not only how popular the beautiful game is in North America and in particular the United States, but also to showcase the players that are the stars in our league and to show that they belong on the world stage in the biggest, most important tournament in our sport.
Nico, you have the pleasure to wrap it up for us.
Well, I'll give a response that is a little bit more oriented towards the entire movement. As someone has seen it by, moving to the United States when I was young, and of course football lover, then working on a European side, and then now in the MLS. I think what we are creating, or what is being created somehow, it's the perfect storm, and that starts with Lionel Messi. Then you have Copa America 2024. You have potentially FIFA World Cup for clubs 2025, World Cup 2026, potentially Women's World Cup 2027, LA Olympics 2028. If the United States don't maximize this for the growth of the game, we would have to switch jobs, Larry.
Amen.
But jokes aside, there is one factor that I think it's the key and it's fundamental. United States of America are nowadays a completely different country than they were in 1994. not only the way they approach soccer, but the diversity of the population. Meaning that for the last 30 years, we were trying to convince a lot of people to choose their local club as the first team, which is very tough to do. Because a lot of our fans, the first team is River Plate, the first team is Boca Juniors, but they come and support. The new generations are children of immigrants, children of Argentinian, Colombian, Mexican, European, Italian, French, English, where the passion starts in the household. And all of a sudden, their first team become LAFC, Inter Miami, Cincinnati, wherever their city is. We have a unique opportunity to really maximize that generational switch. So all of a sudden, and I love baseball, I love all the sports, but we've seen a little bit of a fall down in participations, in awareness, in eyeballs, and so on and so forth. Now is the moment when we can really make a difference, because after 2026, I would like Corey and the rest of the team to do a research on how many kids will name as their first team an MLS club. That's the main objective, because we will keep building upon that. Then, of course, European football will always stay as the North Star. But if we can really focus on our demographics at a national level, which, by the way, we are 340 million people in the United States. It's a pretty significant pool size. So if we can do that, then the game changed forever. The league will change forever, because passion means participation. Participation means the ability to find talent. Nowadays, we have Musa, we have Pulisic, we have Weston, that all they play here, great level. But yet, we don't have the superstar that we need in order to change the game forever in the United States. That will come, because it's just a matter of time, and diversity is helping.
Brilliant, guys. Time is up. I'll go around very quickly to thank our guest speakers. Thank you, Larry, for renting out an entire stadium to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Corey, for flying all the way from New York City to be with us today.
Thank you.
Grazie, Nico, an established presence here at the summit.
Grazie.
2 years in a row. Thank you, guys.